Greetings, Benjamin J. from BENZTRAINZ with another in the series. Well, this is Marx Smoke Unit 101. How does the Marx Smoke Unit work? Now, this is a smoke unit that I took out of that $8.666 that arrived yesterday. And it had been absolutely butchered. The side rods had been pulled off. And I just wanted to do a quick video on how this smoker actually works. So, when this is mounted in the locomotive, there is a slide that rides on this groove. That slide is powered by the push rods. It moves it back and forth. And that slide has a slot in it that this plastic tab fits into. This is the bellows. So as the side rods are going back and forth, this bellow is flapping and pushing air up that hole, as you see. So this flapper or bellows is just sitting in here, just doing this, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it captures enough air to push it up that hole, through the smoke generator itself, and out the top as smoke. Now, the smoke generator itself is really, really simple. It's grounded on this end, and it's approximately 3 turns of nichrome wire. Nichrome wire is the kind of wire they use in a toaster. It gets red hot at depending on the size of the wire, depending on the voltage you're using. But in this case, at about 12 volts, that wire gets red hot. And as you see, it's wrapped around a wick, very much like the wick in a Zippo lighter. And we're using mineral oil. All of the smoke fluid is basically just mineral oil. Now, if you check the smoke temperatures of cooking oils, they're up around 220 degrees, something like that, all of them. Some of them considerably higher, some of them up to 500 degrees before they smoke. In this case, mineral oil smokes at 122 degrees. So once that coil gets hot, that smoke or that oil really begins to smoke. Now, one of the problems with this, of course, is that oil will sit on this wick and it just turns hard. It turns to virtually a solid. So if you have a smoker that doesn't work and you know that mechanically it's okay and you know that your coil is good, what you can do is put a few drops of alcohol on this wick, and that will break down the oil and liquefy it, and in many cases it'll begin to smoke again. But this is just a really, really simple smoke unit. It's really straightforward. It's really simple, as you see. A bellows just pushes air up the chimney, past the smoke generator, and pushes the smoke out the top. And depending on how well this works is how much smoke you're going to get. Like I said, mineral oil smokes at about 122 degrees, so pretty low temperature. And the next highest oil, or next lowest oil, will be up around 200 degrees. It'll never get that hot. So really the only oil you can use in this, practical, is mineral oil, and it actually works fairly well. But what happens with these things is 2 things. They'll either short, which this one did, and actually pop the breaker on the transformer. And if you just cut the wire, you've taken it out of the system and eliminated that problem. In most cases, the coil itself simply burns in half. And if you have an intermittent smoker, it'll smoke, then it'll stop. It'll smoke, then it'll stop. That's usually because the wires have actually burned in half. And when they touch, it smokes, and they expand because they get hot. It opens, and it stops. So it's a pretty simple device. Like I said, the side rods are attached by pins to a slide that rides in these grooves, or on this ridge. And it moves back and forth, and there's a slot in it that physically powers this bellows. So that's all this thing is doing. Back and forth, back and forth. Every time the push rods cycle, it moves this bellows. And it's pushing air up the chimney past the smoke generator. So this is really, really simple. As far as fixing them, I suppose you can, but you can see how small the detail is that's holding this together. It's made in 2 halves. You have to split it, pull it apart, replace the nichrome wire or the wick, or both, reassemble it, and then hook it back to the motor and hope it works. As far as what I do with them, if they don't work, I just pull them off the motor. It's just easier. It's simple, no muss, no fuss. Or just cut the wire. And they're more of a liability when they're not working, just because of all the things that can go wrong with them. Like I said, if you get a short in this, it'll stop the motor, pop the breaker, and you have no idea what's going on. You can't find the problem. Like I said, when you encounter that, cut the wire or unsolder it and see if that's the problem. In many cases, this is why a Marx motor won't run, is because someplace in there that coil is touching ground. And it's not constant, but the vibration, if it touches ground, it pops the breaker, the locomotive stops. And you can't find the reason for that. Like I said, if you have an intermittent problem, just unsolder this wire going to the smoker. And in many cases, you'll find that's what the problem was. So anyway, it's really straightforward. It's really simple. It's just a small plastic flapper, really, acting as a bellows that pumps air through the smoke chamber and out the top of the locomotive. So anyway, I just want to do a quick video on the smoke unit itself. It's really simple. They're fairly straightforward. I mean, if you want to spend the time and actually break this thing in half, buy some nichrome wire, rewrap it, put it all back together, and then reassemble it into the locomotive and see if it works. In my opinion, it's just not worth the effort. And in lots of times, you're running the smoker and the room gets so full of smoke that you have to stop. So it's nice to be able to demonstrate that a locomotive smokes. But in an enclosed room, if you're running two smokers, you can only run them for a few minutes before the air actually starts getting toxic. And if you look on Wikipedia, it says specifically, do not breathe the fumes of burning mineral oil. It's toxic. So anyway, I just want to do a quick video on this. It's really, really simple. The bellows is powered by the push rods, and it's just a couple of turns of nichrome wire that gets intensely hot, wrapped around a wick, very much like in a flint-operated lighter. So I just want to do a quick video on this. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, BENZTRAINZ@gmail.com. And as always, thank you for watching.